Here's what you get with this episode of The Nice Guys on Business.
People don't want to hear things that are not popular. And I'll give you an example. One of the reasons that I wrote this book, because it enabled me to say a lot of the things that I'm not able to say in public because it's just not PC. But if I think about the lesson that I was taught by my mother and my father, it was that if you don't work, you don't eat. Mm-hmm. And that's really political. Elected officials don't like to say that, and they'll never say that in public, at least, to the people that they perceive have elected them into office. So one of the biggest things that has to occur is people have to have the balls to show some tough love and roll up their sleeves to teach people how to fish.
We have a pool in the back, a pool and a pond. I mean, the pond will be good for you, the nice guys on business. Go from where you are now to where you could be. Get expert tips to grow your business, to be more productive and more efficient, whether you're trying to build influence, grow your community, or make it rain. Best-selling author of Nice Guys Finish First, Doug Sandler, can lead the way. The Nice Guys on Business is produced by Turnkey Podcast Productions. Now, here's your host, Doug Sandler.
Nice Guy community, get set for an exciting episode today. Today, our guest, Veronica Smith. She is a businesswoman, an economic philosopher, and we'd even call her here over at the Nice Guys a master of community. She served 18 years working in the economic development field in Sacramento. Also, she founded Impact Brands, Inc., a consulting and advisory firm that specializes in strategic planning, analysis, and assessment in the areas of community and economic development. Might sound like a complex subject, but we're going to get kind of interesting today in the weeds, a little bit about this subject, because I think it's a subject that's extremely relevant, especially in today's day and age. Veronica is also the international best-selling author of When Communities Disappear. Her timing here on the show, again, is perfect based upon the world conditions right now. Veronica, welcome to the Nice Guys on Business podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Doug.
I'm happy to have you here. And I know your subject has a lot of weight and a lot of relevance in today's, whether it's the economic conditions, the health conditions of the world. Tell me, as we start to move forward from this pandemic, what's the new school of thought when it comes to how we can best support the communities that are out there?
Oh, that's a loaded question.
Well, we got to start with a loaded question. I don't want to throw any softballs to you. We don't have a lot of time, so I figure we get right into the meat of it.
Well, I appreciate it. And I'd say, that COVID-19, it was one of the greatest challenges for most people alive today, in the United States, at least. And it exposed a lot of weaknesses, and it revealed many vulnerabilities in people and systems. And I think that for decades now, some have been preaching about the coming of this digital revolution. And I'd say that it's officially here. And if there's one thing that the pandemic should have crystallized for us all, is that digital technology, it's a necessity. It's not optional. Mm-hmm. And if you don't embrace it, you'll be left behind, or even worse, you'll become extinct. And considering that digital technologies drive consumer income, demand, education, training, as the pandemic taught us. If we think about platforms like Postmates and Grubhub and Uber Eats and Instacart, it not only kept businesses and brands afloat during the pandemic, it fed families. It's continuing to feed families. And these technologies were lifelines during the pandemic. So I think the new school of thought is really all about the intersection of economic self-sufficiency to that of technology and really self-mastery. How do we create and control our own environments? Because the bottom line is, if we hold our breath and wait too long for government to save us, the odds are pretty high that we might die.
Well, you talk about economic self-sufficiency, and I want to come back to that term for a second, because I've never heard that term used, but it is a great term, economic self-sufficiency. How do you do that when so many of the communities today they don't have the resources. What's the expression? Adapt or die. They don't have the resources to adapt, and maybe they don't even have the brain power or bandwidth to adapt. They're so used to things being the way that they are. How do you get a community that isn't economically self-sufficient to become self-sufficient?
I think that it really starts with leadership. It starts for the folks that we elect to put in seats at all levels. And here in the United States, economic self-sufficiency is not really a new concept, but it's something that has never really been embraced, in my opinion, in the way that it should have been embraced if we just think about the construct and the history of government. And so what I've seen in my years in community and economic development is that elected officials tend to get in roles and think that they have the power to save communities, to save people in communities. And we facilitated this system of individuals who look to government to be saved. And so we pump billions of dollars into programs, into services that oftentimes don't reach the people in the community that need to be reached. So if we invested more in the people, educating individuals more on the financial literacy side, on the equity, what equity really means, not so much in the respect of social equity, but economic equity, we would be a lot further when it comes to some of our communities that have been left behind and continue to be left behind, because this isn't a priority. It's never been.
All right. So take your magic wand that I'm going to give to you. I bestow upon you the magic wand of the Nice Guys on Business podcast. And you have this magic wand and you can raise it over a community that is in distress and maybe unrelated to the pandemic. What needs to occur in a community? I know you said leadership, and I know it comes down to the individual, but are there specific things that we can do? And maybe you can even use your book as an example. Are there certain examples in your book that you lay out about how to take a community that's in a challenge situation and wave that magic wand and get them out? And what would those things be?
Yes, if I could wave the magic wand.
Looks good on you, by the way, the magic wand.
Oh, thank you.
It's gold starred on top.
My magic wand would be sprinkled in some really tough gold, because we need a lot of tough love going around, because this is really hard. And it's people don't want to hear things that are not popular. And I'll give you an example. One of the reasons that I wrote this book, because it enabled me to say a lot of the things that I'm not able to say in public because it's just not PC. But if we think about, or me, if I think about the lesson that I was taught by my mother and my father, it was that if you don't work, you don't eat. Mm-hmm. And that's really political. Elected officials don't like to say that, and they'll never say that in public, at least, to the people that they perceive have elected them into office. So one of the biggest things that has to occur is people have to have the balls to show some tough love and roll up their sleeves to teach people how to fish. And so if I were, the queen for the day with the magic wand, I would just put it out there, just plain and simple. Who's willing to do A, B, and C, and what are you willing to do for it? Mm-hmm. Now, my views are very conservative. So depending on, the type of community that it is, it doesn't always come across well as a Black woman. But at the end of the day, I didn't come from money. My family worked for everything that we had and that we have, and it was taught to me. And if it had not been taught to me, then I would not have the wherewithal to figure out how to make it happen for myself and for my family and for the people that I pour into on a day-to-day basis. So that probably didn't directly answer your question, but I felt that I had to unpack it a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. I love that. And I love your boldness. I mean, I think that that's the biggest challenge. I think that so many people are, get on podcasts or get into even in the political arena, and they so want to be safe and say the words that they think will get them elected or get them in a position of power. And I think that they're afraid that if they use some of those challenged words or challenging words that you just used, I think they feel like they're not going to put themselves into a position of power. Do you agree with that, or is that something that that you have some, maybe a challenge with those words that I just said?
No, I absolutely agree, and it's all about intentions. So I've worked with a lot of people who I question their intentions, and then I've worked with a lot of people who had heartfelt intentions to do right by the community. And at the end of the day, I found that if you start it with the one-on-one, people will embrace it and they'll appreciate what you say because oftentimes they haven't been taught. I speak with, 40-year-olds, 50, 60, 70, 80-year-olds who are ignorant to the concepts that I educate people on. And so people are thirsty and they're hungry for a knowledge. They're hungry for the resources because they also realize that as quick as they, got a handout from one elected official, with the drop of a dime, a new elected official can come into that seat, have a completely different perspective, completely different philosophies, and then where will they be?
So there's an interesting concept. It's called economic development. And I know the communities that are affected oftentimes need to deal with economic development. Can you maybe share how you define what economic development is to these communities that are out there that are being affected by things like, displacement, eviction, gentrification? Tell me how those three challenged spots relate to economic development.
Okay, so you hit me with another really heavy one, but the economic development question is one of my favorite ones. So let me start with trying to unpack that one. And economic development, in a nutshell, is what makes our world, our state, our cities, our communities thrive or not thrive. It's our transportation systems, it's our school systems, it's our food chain, our parks and recreation, our workforce, our small businesses, our leadership, it's our choices, our options, and our standards. So that's probably what I would say the best layman's definition of it is. Now, if we take it to the eviction, displacement, and gentrification question, I would say that those are all acts that take place, right? They're acts that affect people and they happen to people, yet they are done by people. So historically, these three things impact low-income people, indigenous people, and people of color. And in my book, there are about 3 chapters where I take a deep dive into this and talk about this, and particularly in chapter 4, urban renewal and its dark history. And the irony of these 3 words, displacement, eviction, and gentrification, is the role that government and big business and policymakers have historically played in them all since the beginning of time here in the US. So policy is what facilitates or prohibits something from happening. So let's take whether it's a liquor store, whether it's an automobile shop, whether it is housing, there are policies that are in place that either allow for those types of businesses to occur in the community or says, no, we don't want that in the community. Then let's also take it a little bit further. If we think about eminent domain, it's a policy or a law that allows government agencies to take private property under certain defined circumstances. So a lot of people don't think about the fact that our highways, our hospitals, our parks, our cemeteries, prisons, government buildings, universities are institutions that have displaced and evicted a lot of people historically and still today. And so if we then take it one step further to that last piece, politics, then so what is politics? Politics is the activities that are associated with making decisions. It forms the relationships between individuals in positions of power. It's the distribution of resources or status. It's money. And politics is what facilitates the policies that impact people, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Politics is what facilitates an Amazon warehouse going in the backyard of a community that has existed for the past 100 years. And so ultimately, displacement, eviction, and gentrification won't happen without a policy that supports it. And this all happens within economy, right? So when we talk about economic development, typically economic development is related to economic growth or when things are improving. And in the book, I go into community revitalization because when things aren't so great, or when a community appears to be blighted or there's a lot of distressed housing and distressed land, then community revitalization comes into place so that it can kickstart the process of economic development. But at the end of the day, the displacement, eviction, and gentrification, it won't happen without a policy supports it. And at the end of the day, it's often political, and it tends to affect the people that have no real political relevance or will. And that's the unfortunate truth.
So Veronica wrote the book, When Communities Disappear, The Unspoken Truths of Community Revitalization, Ideologies and Policies in the United States. It's available on Amazon. We'll make sure we put a link in the show notes so you have access to the book. And curious, when you wrote the book, what was your hope for your audience? Was it the policymakers and people that are in positions of power, or was it the feet on the street inside those communities and actually the ones that are falling prey to or victim of the evictions, gentrification, and displacement?
It's really the feet on the street, but it's really also our policymakers, our developers, our real estate investors, because I realize that these topics, they aren't easy topics, but understanding them is necessary. I've worked with so many developers and policymakers that just didn't get it. And the pandemic is what made it really crystal clear to me that I really had to realize my gifts. And so I wrote this book during the pandemic. And it was also like a release where I got to put out a lot of the information that is needed, irrespective of what one's role is in the community. It's just a certain level of understanding, whether you're a homeowner, a renter, a business owner, an aspiring developer. Like, this is critical information because it impacts us all, whether it's directly or indirectly. And I think the response that I've gotten has only validated the need for what it is that I've had to say based on what I've learned and observed over the past 20 years.
Yeah, it sounds like with your 18 plus years of experience with in Sacramento and your founding of Impact Brands, you would be the right person to bring this message to the market. Can you share a little bit about Impact Brands Inc.? I don't know much about the company, but I would love to learn more and share that with my community too.
Yeah, so I founded Impact Brands Inc. after I got tired of working for government in economic development. So I provide strategic advice and consulting for government institutions, academic institutions, and private landowners that are looking to advance economic development and real estate development projects and strategies.
So take off for just a second. Take off your author hat and your 18 years of working at the economic development field in Sacramento. Talk to us as a business owner, to other business owners that are in our community. Give me some practical stuff that you actually do to share tell people that you're walking the walk. You're not just talking the talk, but you're actually walking your walk through the practices that you have with your own business. So there's people in our community that are solopreneurs, business leaders, owners, and they love to know how to connect your message to their business. So what would be a good action step that you actually are taking to put some of these plans in place?
I think that a good action step that I'm taking is making sure that I'm staying connected to and working with communities. So whether it is faith-based organizations in communities, small businesses in communities, I think that my door always has to be open to giving folks the roadmap as it relates to what policies mean and how it impacts people. So one of my give backs is to always be open to working with others who are trying to figure it out, because I was once there trying to figure it out by trial and error.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's a great answer. Mentorship is usually a great way to share a shining example with those that are following just a couple of steps behind you in their journey as well. As a business owner, talk to my community. What's some of the stuff that you're still working on when it comes to just building your business? There's a huge difference between working in government and being an entrepreneur and working in your own business, Impact Brand. So maybe share some of the things that you're still working on as a business owner.
I'm still very much engaged in the community. So one of the things that I've recently done is gone back to support an elected official in one of the communities that I worked heavily in when I was employed by government. I'm also working on a digital series called The Uncomfortable Couch, which will be launching here, fingers crossed, within the next 2 months. And that really is also a platform to educate and inform individuals on a lot of the topics that I talk about in the book. And it enables open dialogue, honest dialogue with the business community, with people who are trying to figure it out. So I'm always looking for ways to connect with the masses. It's definitely been a work in progress to, get some of these platforms online and figure out how I can reach more people with the subject that isn't always, it's not sexy at all. And
Right.
So the strategies that I've been trying to deploy to get this message out there has definitely been a work in progress, but, it's my passion, it's my gift. And so I'll figure it out, as unsexy as this historic subject is.
Hey, listen, we all are building the plane as we are flying it. So as entrepreneurs, I just think that's the nature of what we do. I'm going to challenge you, though. Are you ready? Or I know you didn't come on the show for me to challenge you, but I'm going to challenge you anyway, with or without your permission. I'm going to do it because I think you'll agree. You're such a great writer. I'm looking at your blog and I'm wondering why you haven't had a post since July. I want more of what you're writing right now, because so much of what you write has an impact with those that will be reading it. I would challenge you to put out more and more of your blog posts, or get on more podcasts and put those up on your website as well, because your message is relevant. And I think people want to know that you're staying connected to them in a timely manner through your website. So can I challenge you with that?
Sure. And I'm glad you're challenging me with that. So I have a very bad habit of being a perfectionist. And I did not realize everything that goes into executive producing anything. And so we're behind with The Uncomfortable Couch. So I have a ton of content, honestly. I have 3 other books that I've written that I need to finalize.
Oh my gosh.
Just so much content. So it all came down to timing, but I guess there's never really a right time. And so I thank you for calling me out.
I gently called you out. I hope you don't mind. I gently called you out. I
have it and so it doesn't make sense because I have so much. So I just need to get out of my own way. And the time is now. So much time has been lost. So I can't keep waiting.
Couldn't agree with you any more than that. I mean, that's 100% right. I tell my clients over and over again, and I'm a producer of podcasts. So for me, I tell my clients all the time, never let perfection be the enemy of done. Everybody's got this And I just had a feeling you had a huge body of content that's already existing out there. I'm wondering, I know she's written other stuff. I'm sure of it. I know that she hasn't been sitting idle since July. Let me just see where this challenge will go. And when you revealed that you do have a ton of content, I'm like, I knew it. I knew Veronica. She's got more stuff out there. So we are hoping that more stuff comes out, more books come out, more blog posts come out, more podcast appearances, and throw them all up on your website. Because I'll tell you something, that's where people are going to consume the most information. Drive them right to your website.
Definitely. And I definitely appreciate you lighting that fire under me. So there'll be a new post up tonight.
All right. Well, that's even better. So I'm going to sign up for your. I think I can sign up for your email list directly from your website as well. So those in our community, Nice Guy community, I encourage you go over to the show notes. Just click on the link veronicaannsmith.com, and you'll have access to the blog posts that have been written so far and access to the book as well. Veronica, thank you so much for sharing your message and your inspiration here on the Nice Guys podcast today.
And thank you so much for having me. I truly appreciate it and everything that your community is doing.
Nice Guy community, never underestimate the power of nice. Again, special thanks to Veronica Smith. All of her information, including access to her website and her book, will be right, and all of her social media profiles too, will be right there in the show notes. Steve O'Brien, go ahead and take us out of here.
For the Nice Guys on Business, I'm Steve O'Brien. Fill up your week with the Nice Guys. Well, there's always money in the banana stand.